Hello, and welcome to The Void, an open space where anything is possible. You could be the you always wanted to be. Computer, load coin telegraph headline October 2nd, 2020.
Affirmative. Loading headline, you miserable muppet.
Sorry, I've been experimenting with Rickmonomics. Okay, here we go. Are social tokens the next big thing? And are they? Well, the article did a spectacular job of not answering its own question. So I've taken it upon myself to stand up for quality journalism and... come on, who am I kidding? But if your reaction to the idea of social tokens was this, well, you're not alone. And I'm not sure I've encountered a token category that elicits such a strong negative reaction. People are really skeptical about social tokens. And I get it. That whole tokenize everything meme of 2017, where we believed everything needed a token. It deserved a token, god damn it. Well, a lot of burned fingers have yet to be healed from that particular dumpster fire. And you know, if we cleave this puppy down the middle, look what we have. Me, me.
Yes, me.
Me, fractionalized.
Me too.
And over the last month or so, I've been finding it harder and harder to get proper answers to questions surrounding NFTs, digital art, and social tokens. It's so early. There really aren't any rules yet.
There's no rules!
And I just wanted to see if I could make better videos by having my own experiences to draw from, rather than simply reporting on what happened. And social tokens in particular are so new that the mechanics that can make them really good are only just starting to be explored. So yes, be skeptical, but keep an open mind because there is interesting territory. But let's try and avoid unnecessary clickbait, shall we?
What do you have to say about this, Mr. Schmidt?
Okay, so yes, I have sort of fractionalized myself and I am part of this big experiment, but look at it. Isn't it awesome? This is the Defiant. Coming up, we have whales, cherries, JAMM, a cyberpunk superhero, and a man called Connie. So what is a social token exactly? Well, that's a good question, and let's try and keep it simple. A social token represents a fractionalized share in the intrinsic value of a community, a brand or a human. And it's a form of ownership economy, giving participants exposure to the growth trajectory of whatever the community is clustered around, as well as the potential to help shape that trajectory as well. And already the moment you start saying these words, it's hard not to feel a large ball of cynicism, skepticism, and pushback forming at the back of your throat. Because we've seen so much for the community chat from projects where there was at least a technical product that could be audited or used or tried. So when community itself is the product, well then yeah, it just feels like exploitation.
Just using you for money.
But again, let's keep an open mind here.
You taught me, using any technique that works, never to limit myself to one style, to keep an open mind.
Now probably the most obvious utility of a social token is as a rewards mechanism. Supporters can purchase tokens to support a creator, or that same creator can offer tokens as rewards for strong community members. But we already have platforms that enable this without the need for crypto and all its associated friction and risks. There's Patreon, OnlyFans, Indiegogo, Kickstarter, etc., you name it. And I can see the appeal of tokens in this context because, well, at least you come out with something that could potentially witness some upside as a tradable asset rather than just a t-shirt, or in other words, the extrinsic value of the token. But we'll come back to that later.
We'll be right back.
Social tokens, are often marketed as a way for creators to take back control of the value they create and give them greater control over the destiny of that value. We're often told that creators are dealt a raw deal by platforms such as Twitch, YouTube, or Instagram, and this is why we need a new system, one that is fairer, etc., etc., etc. This narrative loves to paint the platforms as
Crazy evil.
and creators as poor, exploited sweatshop battery hens measuring their lives in content eggs delivered according to a punishing schedule of non-stop create, publish, repeat. But I'm sorry, every creator knows they're making a deal with the devil here.
Call me dad.
And if they don't, there's 100 videos only too eager to explain it to them. And yes, the algorithm is changed regularly and that feels deeply unfair. But I can't help feeling social media Darwinism will ensure those with the chops to figure out the game will do so, and those who don't will be rendered extinct, as they would in any other business environment. So I don't really buy that argument. However, if you say to me, there's things that I want to do that just aren't possible on existing platforms, then sure, okay, I'm listening. Artists have historically been deprived of capturing their value by a sea of intermediaries like corporations and platforms that have a monopoly on creative ownership. I've been fascinated with crypto for years and its applications beyond currencies, and believe that it can create a new paradigm for creative ownership directly between artists and their communities. And by rewarding my most loyal fans, we can create a community where tokens unlock access to various perks and exclusive content. Crypto enables communities to capture the value they create instead of being monetized by pre-existing platforms. Now that's a direct quote from Andre Años, who you might know by the name RAC or RAC. He's won a Grammy, don't you know? And he's also the most visible of the current wave of creator experimentalists, attempting to solve his own frustrations as an artist through blockchain. And his RAC token recently launched on Zora, following the kind of crazy, unreal success of Tape, the limited edition cassette tape of his album Boy.
When approaching this project, obviously physical releases are an important aspect of that. I mean, the vast majority of people listen through Spotify and Apple, but I've always enjoyed the sort of physical product and whether that's vinyl or CDs or, whatever preference you have, which actually brings me to my latest project, which is the Tape token. Okay, so what is this token? What are you talking about? In its essence, it's redeemable for a copy of my new album Boy on cassette. So we're making an extremely limited amount of these, and we're essentially opening up the option for trading this token before it's even available. It's an experiment in scarcity and market dynamics, and it allows the creator to participate in secondary markets, which historically we've never been able to.
And if you follow Andre on Twitter, you'll quickly see that the guy's a thinker. He lives and breathes this technology. He knows what he's talking about. But also there's a ton of people that love his music. And this is kind of rare. The thing about RAC is he's also still a relatively unknown artist in the grand scheme of things, but what if you're a genuine global star who sold over 35 million records? Well then, you could try Roll, the #1 platform for social money, home to some of the best-known current social token experiments such as Karma, Whale, Cherry, and Alex. And the platform recently announced a partnership with Yes, that Akon. Mr. Lonely. Well, specifically his HITCOINS project, which is currently building a blockchain city in Senegal. So Roll essentially allows you to define your own economics and make your own markets based on social currency. And given that social interaction is about connecting you with other people, then maybe Akon won't be as he sounded in that song anymore. So let's take a look, shall we?
Dialing modem, typing, Crypto Smasher version 3.1. Wow, is it gonna open up a website to infinity and beyond? Probably not.
So if we look at the TryRoll website, you get to a dashboard and it gives you the most popular, the most traded, I guess, coins. And then you go to the wallet and you can go to see all social money. And it does then give you a list of all the social money on Roll. I mean, what are all these tokens? It goes on and on and on. I mean, what are all? Madcap, Grr, JAMM. I wonder what that one's about. MILF coin. Yeah, there literally is a coin for everything. And that's kind of what we saw in 2017, right? We saw just a coin for everything. Oh, look, there's Cami. Like, what are you supposed to do with all of these? Well, I guess that's kind of the point, isn't it? For a small community, this coin makes sense. But if you're just looking at this in the broader context, with your trader hat on, these are just a bunch of shit coins. All of them, every single one of them. Or are they? Because here's the thing, if we go back to the dashboard, you start to see some really startling numbers. So let's look at Karma, for instance. We go across and it says market cap, 32 million. Morg, market cap, 35 million. Cherry, market cap, 34 million. Whale, market cap, 46 million. Think about that, 46 million for a social token. So I go to CoinGecko, and just as a point of comparison, I start to look at what 46 million in other projects is. We have Origin Trail, we have Hedgig, we have Wax, Phantom, SingularityNet. These are legit projects, like Anchor's 49, Storage is 49, District OX 50. Now there is a caveat here, which is those market caps are fully diluted. So the picture is a little bit muddy. So if we just on CoinGecko go to Whale, because that's the most kind of telling one. So Whale, fully diluted market cap, 46. Actual market cap, 20. So, I mean, still 20. If we look at where 20 would get you on CoinMarketCap, you're talking about the likes of Orion Protocol, Bytecoin, Ripio, Coty, Pickle, Acropolis, PivX, Certic, a token that represents just, oh my gosh. And this is where you gotta start taking these things seriously. Like Cherry, Whale, those numbers are legit. Or are they? So Whale's an interesting one because it's the world's first social currency backed by high-value assets, in this case, NFTs. And according to their website, they've spent upwards of $1 million acquiring some of the most valuable NFTs in blockchain gaming, art, real estate, and other digital collectibles. And also according to the website, they've seen organic growth rates of between 300 to 800% due to wise selection and investment choices, worth around 4 to 9 times the original investment. So let's say the most optimistic total value of assets under the management is $10 million, given an investment of $1 million up front, but their market cap is 20 million. So that means each token is trading at least 100% premium. So if we were to apply wise selection and investment choices to the Whale token as a digital asset, as an investment, well, you need every single NFT in the collection to double in value for that market cap to make any kind of sense. Well, Cherry's valuation I can't pass comment on because, well, it's not my scene, it's not my community, and there's no ceiling on the value of talent, so good for her. What I did find interesting, though, was her tiered membership levels. The more tokens you own, the more naughty stuff you get. And if that's your jam, good for you. And speaking of jams, in the world's most labored segue, it's another token that you can own that operates as a social token for crypto natives who are experimenting with tokenized community tools to pave the way for new creator economies. JAMM is used to gain access to the Discord, read the JAMM session newsletter, which is a weekly piece on the intersection of creators and crypto, and other platforms in the JAMM session ecosystem run and organized by the man, Brian Flynn. Now, I first came across Brian when I saw his article on creators as crypto primitives, where he was talking about the potential for creators with strong crypto propositions to plug into DeFi as primitives in their own right, leveraging the earning power of their audience. Think about that for a moment. I was like, hang on a second, here's someone who isn't just talking about how broke the current system is and how creators can reward their audience. Like that isn't something that can already be done 100 different ways. Here's an actual money Lego proposition built around a creator's clout.
You got clout?
Yeah, I got clout.
You got clout?
Yeah, boy.
Somebody get Mr. Beast on the phone because he could make a fortune.
At the time I'm recording this video, I have 8,000 subscribers and 1.8 million views. So whenever you see this, compare these numbers to whatever I have when you watch this.
Why create problems that aren't actually problems? Let's leverage all the things that blockchain is uniquely good at, rather than creating slow, crap solutions to problems that we've magnified to help sell tokens and make money for ourselves. Now, maybe I'm being too harsh here, but I really struggle with this. You see, Roll isn't the only platform that's launching creator-focused products. The Rally Network describes itself as an emerging blockchain ecosystem focused on giving creators new ways to build their businesses and achieve deeper engagement with their communities. Okay.
I'll allow it.
Mahesh Valanki, head of growth at Rally, wrote an article introducing their new product, CreatorCoin, which apparently will revolutionize how content creators and streamers earn a living and interact with their fans. He writes, "We talk to creators and streamers every single day and regularly hear some variation of this story. I'm a streamer with a stable group of viewers, and while my subscriber base is solid, my income from ad revenue, donations, and sponsorships is inconsistent. I feel burnt out because if I'm not streaming, I'm not earning." And he goes on to articulate the alternative path forward as such. "Then I discovered Rally, launched my own cryptocurrency using their free toolset. At first I set it up, I was the only holder of the coin, but then I started talking about it with my fans and rolling it out as a loyalty program to offer VIP benefits in my channel like special Discord access, shoutouts, and game requests. They got excited about the benefits and coin itself. I'm so excited! And started buying it. Word spread. The more people started getting excited about my community and my economy, and my brand started to grow in an entirely new direction. As my economy grew, I was offering more benefits to my coin holders and cashing out my coin for consistent, significant income that allowed me to make longer-term plans around my career and reduce stress. Fans were excited because they were contributors to my economy's growth too. Not only is it a source of income, but it's also a substitute for Valium.
When excessive anxiety and tension are interfering with rehabilitative efforts, Valium, diazepam can help the transition back to work, back to a more normal life. The patient finds it easier to feel hopeful about the future. Valium, for the response you know, want, and trust.
Honestly, I find this problematic. Consistent, significant income. They got excited about the benefits and coin itself and started buying it. Word spread and more people started getting excited. Shield token, go up. And this is bad news because in no time at all, you have shifted the value proposition away from the creator to the token. And now that creator is serving the token every bit as much as they serve the platform algorithms that decide whether their content gets recommended and gives them ad revenue. Worse still, the algorithm doesn't come raging back at them because they bought at the wrong moment in the cycle and rain incessant terror on them. So you're adding all of that into the mix alongside the normal pressures of creating for algorithmic revenue streams.
The patient finds it easier to feel hopeful about the future.
Because let's be honest, nobody's going full crypto. This is going to be an add-on to things that creators are already doing.
The biggest danger inherent in social tokens is that there's regulatory risk, especially when you're promising a share of future income with token holders. When you start paying effectively dividends, the token starts to look much more like a share than a tool to reward or exchange goods and services. The danger is that regulators go after the issuer for selling unregistered securities. It might be easier for investors to overlook the regulatory risks of investing in cryptocurrencies, or for them to not do as much due diligence on the merits of the token because they are overly trusting of the individual behind it, or they think that social tokens as a category fall under different rules, which isn't really the case.
Now, during my research into crypto art, I came across Connie Digital, one of the better known artists out there, who has been experimenting with his own social token, Hue. But as I was doing so, I found a sobering piece on his website that really resonated with me. He said, "I've been warning people about the potential dangers of social tokens. Writing from personal experience, fluctuations in trading can have a direct emotional impact on issuers. If we look at the outcry from Instagram users when the company threatened to remove the like button, we can see the emotional attachment and high value placed on this simple social action. When we begin to layer money onto social networks in the form of social tokens, I think trading activity has the potential to deeply affect a person's mental health. And I would caution new users and new issuers not to use their name and/or likeness when preparing a token." And he's got a point here because
It's been emotional.
when we call people fans, they have an irrational, emotional attachment to a person, thing, or whatever it is that they're into. If you start siphoning all of that emotion into trading, then you're just pulling it away from the creator, and that's not what you want. You want to enforce and reinforce those connections, not destroy them. And the problem is this: we've been looking at the problem quantitatively. More equals better. And this is how the algorithm works. They assume every view is the same as every other view, and therefore so do advertisers. But this is not the way the world works. And this channel itself is a great example of that. We may not have huge numbers, but thanks to the Defiant newsletter, I suspect the people who do watch these videos are excessively connected and valuable within this space, and that means something. Our very own Cryptoscenti is a huge advocate of social tokens, and given his background in the music industry, I can sort of see why. But he rightly makes this point. It's clear that while most are pointing to price as a metric for success, 1,000 true fans are exponentially more valuable than 100,000 likes or $1 million market cap. True fans, true believers. And I hate to say even the word believer, but just people who really are in it with you and not just speculating. Now, I caught up with Cooper alongside one of the most visible and radical social tokenites, Marguerite deCourcelle, founder of Neon District and just an all-round badass. And she recently launched NFT mining with Robness of Trash. And yeah, this is a very small world, but you know, that's always how it starts. I just really wanted to understand how you got from the version of you that I saw in 2018, I think it was, talking about paintings.
Hello, I'm Marguerite deCourcelle, also known as Coin Artist.
To who you are now in this kind of cyberpunk landscape that you're in.
When we think of other social influencers that have a very strong brand like Ninja or Dan TDM, these people work really hard to establish a personal brand. It was easy for me to lean into like, well, maybe I could just do cyberpunk cosplay-ish and become a little bit of a superhero type character to, I guess, be a part of the facade that is this world we're building. And then use the token as a tool to bridge the gap that we had been missing from having a centralized company to our community, and they can then directly be involved. What we've done with the game company is we've made a very strong game design core economic loop, and then we have all these little side loops off of it. And DeFi is just another contingent of that too. So, you know, with the social token, which is a tool for token controlled access, for community engagement, ways to have tiered access and identifiable community members, and as well as then from there have NFT farms for people that are committed users. Also, like ways to earn different assets. So, for example, with Coin, you can also earn something called cred, which you can only earn by being a liquidity provider. So you've added value to the network. Therefore, we're going to do special things with cred. And the only way to have gotten it was to have been a liquidity provider. Coins Eden is what you gain access to by having the social token. Coins Eden is like a private syndicate within the world of Neon District. So then the need to be more, you know, to blend more with reality with this this world, actually the stakes just naturally raised, right? It couldn't just be me, regular old me in a Neon District cyberpunk world and it be any fun. In the puzzle building that I've done historically, it is always theme and lore based. Always a little bit of mystery woven in, and people love that experience. We're not just building this for ourselves for fun only. We want to give an experience to people that will really deeply resonate.
I think her ability to tell a story is unmatched. You know, you look at the community that's getting involved with Coin, and there are people that are deeply engaged with each and everything that she releases. When we think about a social experience, the level of commitment that people have in the Coin community is one that I haven't really seen anywhere else. You know, she mentioned different tiers in Discord, and I've seen people just really own up to those roles. And it's something that when we talk about fan engagement and sort of fan clubs of the future, I think that the Coin community is a perfect example of what that looks like.
There is a counter argument to all this, which is just like every influencer on Instagram could have their own social token. Every YouTuber could have their own social token. And so you could see this sort of flood of just garbage into the market. Do you worry that we are creating a monster here?
I don't. You know, I think that it's actually a very beautiful future. I don't think that it's the future where everyone will have a token, but it's for the people who are willing to take a chance and be an experimenter and be an innovator. And for those people, I think that it feels natural to me that your fans should have the ability to capture the upside of your growth. Right now we don't have these opportunities. And as someone who supports someone really early in their career, social tokens are a great way to align yourself with their future. So it definitely is scary. And, similar to 2017, there is an argument to be made that there will be a lot of bad tokens. But I would instead just look at the ones that do really well and use that as a sign of why this is so incredible.
This is not supposed to be seen as a financial instrument. I really wanted to push the narrative of having play money, that social tokens are a tool. And so going about it and launching it a little bit differently from the gamer perspective, from, the game assets, and understanding this is something that's supposed to be a little different to prevent that toxic community mindset.
And I think that's why community tokens are getting so much attention right now. It's not about one given individual, it's about the value of that community. And I think that a lot of really cool things happen when you find a common goal that people can rally around and then focus that social tokens energy on improving and enhancing whatever that goal is.
As long as you embrace being experimental and you always lead with this is very highly experimental, and if you want to play and have fun, and it could go completely wrong, like come be a part of this, like that. And I think leading with that and not the instrument itself.
Now, do you remember in the last video, I did this experiment in which I allowed 50 strangers to just go into a wallet that I created and steal my tokens, just take them. That was an experiment, and it was an experiment designed to create a community, effectively, to safeguard the artistic value of one of the NFTs that's going to be in the rug pull. But what's grown up around it is completely crazy, because by accident, I have started a social token. Like all of the things I've been talking about in this video have been in there as part of this experiment. And it's crazy, because the first thing you think of when you think of a token is a thing that people will trade for profit. And when you say that, when somebody's profiting, somebody's losing. And so built into that idea of a token is profit and loss, and therefore somebody loses and will probably get angry because of that. What I learned over the course of this is that there is so much more that you can do with tokens than simply trade them. And actually, those additional pieces of utility are actually what you want. And the other thing I learned is that the Ethereum landscape is becoming so much more mature that those pieces of utility are, in fact, highly effective. So the things I was looking at were Collabland, which allows you to create token-restricted access to Discord or Telegram. And that means basically, in order to gain access to a certain Telegram group, you have to have a certain number of tokens. And a great example of this is Friends with Benefits. And the Defiant podcast spoke to Trevor specifically about this. And I've joined. I think it's awesome. It really filters out the casual lurkers and everyone else who might not be a benefit to that community. The other thing I learned was it's really easy to set up voting. So if you want to have a proposition or a proposal to do something or change something, you can allow people to vote on that. And it doesn't cost anything. There's no gas fees involved. You just vote. And because of the power of the tokens in your wallet, you can do all of that. And that leads us on to things like quadratic voting, which is even better. What you constantly bump up against is, well, there's always going to be traders. If there's no speculative value in a token, well, who's going to be interested? And the pushback to that is, yeah, there's no interest for traders, but then maybe you shouldn't be speaking to traders in the first place. Maybe you should be working harder to build a community of people who aren't traders. And whenever someone says to me, well, there's going to be no value because you can't trade it, well, I'm always thinking, well, then I need to work harder to create that value in a different way. I need to innovate. God forbid any innovation in this space. So within this community, there were a couple of things that I always said, which was, nobody loses money except me. You shouldn't have to buy anything to gain access to it. And I've kind of subtly banned the word investor, because there's no investors. There's participants, or as I like to call them, co-conspirators. We're all trying to create something, but nobody can lose anything. Therefore, I don't owe them anything. Because the moment people buy a token at the wrong moment, they start to blame you because they're losing money. Normally what you have to do to gain access to a token restricted community is buy something. Buy 100 tokens and then you are in. It's like membership of a club. So I said, what about if instead of asking people to buy something, they have to sell something. And it's something that I give them. So started this gifting culture where I just give people NFTs. It's something I can create on my own time. In terms of finance, it doesn't cost me anything to actually make these. There is a time cost, yes, of course, but I just gift people these NFTs and say, well, maybe you can sell this. And, by selling that, you say, I value culture over greed. And, we can say to people, you can keep 50% of it and give 50% back to the group.
Wow, excellent.
But that, for me, is where social tokens get really interesting, because you're completely forcing the value to be intrinsic and not extrinsic. And that's cool. So, social tokens. Gosh, this was a difficult episode. I mean, if there's a conclusion to be drawn here, it's this. Social tokens undoubtedly have a huge amount of value potential. But in the best case scenario, that value accrues not to the token, but to everything else. And once that relationship is out of balance and the token itself is the one ruling sentiment, interest, and engagement, then I don't think it's a social token anymore. It's just a meaningless, speculative asset. And it will follow the same path that they all do.
If they're not designed correctly, they do have the potential to skew incentives so that a person ends up making decisions thinking on the short-term price of their own token rather than on the long-term success of their project.
And I suspect a lot of the negative sentiment towards social tokens has as much to do with envy as it does with cynicism over the value of influencers and their right to launch a token. How dare you value yourself as something people would want to own?
Vanity is definitely my favorite sin.
On the Whale website, he says, join a community of elite NFT collectors. And this idea of the elite has become muddied by social inequality and conspiracies about shadowy minorities controlling everything. But the word elite in itself is not negative, quite the opposite. It means a select group that is superior in terms of ability or quality to the rest of a group or society. My thesis, my personal thesis of social tokens, positions them as the polar opposite of standard protocol tokens. Those demand network effects, that the tokens be spread as far and as wide as possible. But social tokens demand the opposite. They demand to be valued and protected by a very small group. It's quality, not quantity. And those who demonstrate superior qualities under the peculiar framework of values that you stand for. And this is much more like membership of a club. So it's not network effects, it's club effects. Now, extrinsic value is created, of course, externally, and in the case of tradable tokens, probably unsustainably, mostly unsustainably. But for me, the social token can become the unit of intrinsic value, but only if allowed to do so. The moment trading mechanics take over, then it's done. It's really done. And so if we limit ourselves to building communities from crypto natives, this is inevitably where we end up. And some will say if the token has no speculative value, then why bother? But that's exactly the point. Fight harder to make the value count because of this, not in spite of it. Drawing community members who are not crypto natives, who don't care about trading, who just want to do something cool, something fun, something where there was an avenue that opens up to them that wasn't there before. Now, I'm experimenting with this all the time. The token's called culture. It's enabled me to sell my own artwork and realize something that I never realized before, which is I do have value as an artist, and maybe that value is something that can be shared and promoted by a group that all loves it as well. I never knew that before, but now I do, and I'm willing to fight for that. So social tokens, they get the thumbs up for me with huge caveats. And I hope that this video and everything that I talked about in it will help guide your thinking or feelings, whether you agree with them or not, in that same direction. This was The Defiant.